The Veline Consortium's orbital station, Iridescence, hung in the void like a sculpture of frozen mist, a masterpiece of gossamer curves and suicidal engineering. To the Veline, it was the pinnacle of art. To engineer Cato Vess, it was a lawsuit waiting for gravity's gavel. Cato, built of earth-dense bone and professional cynicism, stood in the vestibule watching her breath fog the viewport, wondering if her insurance policy covered structural collapse due to cultural incompetence. In tales like this, one often sees echoes of our own world's chaos. The glossy startup that prioritizes the logo over the infrastructure, doomed the moment reality applies pressure. Chief Architect Silthus floated in to greet her, a creature of hollow bones and four arms drifting like kelp in a current. He boasted of design awards while Cato silently calculated the load-bearing capacity of the floor, which felt uncomfortably like a suggestion rather than a solid surface. She was there to fix thermal regulators, a mundane task in a surreal world where furniture drifted on tethers and walls were merely translucent hints. But the clash between physics and philosophy turned violent in the engineering sublattice. Cato placed a torque wrench, a simple half-kilogram tool, onto a floating crystalline desk. She missed. The wrench tumbled, bounced off her boot, and struck the workspace. The desk didn't just break, it exploded into glittering fragments, tinkling against the deck like wind chimes made of failure. Silthus was horrified, accusing her of brutalist engineering. But as Cato stared at the debris, the terrifying truth clicked into place. The Veline definition of standard gravity was calibrated to their homeworld, 0.3 Gi. The Federation standard was 1 G. The entire station wasn't just fragile, it was a death trap disguised as a dream. Confined to her quarters for the crime of having mass, Cato sat in a hammock that sagged dangerously under her weight. Solitude breeds calculation, and the numbers were catastrophic. The Galactic Trade Summit was commencing in hours. 84 delegates were arriving, including the Karoks, a species from a high-gravity world, dense as stone and bringing tons of cargo. Threx Gorham, a Karok's delegate, found Cato, filling her doorway with a physique that resembled overlapping plates of scar tissue. He had done the math too. The Grand Plateau, the ceremonial disk where the summit would be held, was designed for tensile beauty, not vertical stress. It would shatter like sugar glass. "Physics doesn't negotiate," Threx rumbled, a sentiment as true in the cold void as it is in the trenches of human history. Cato tried to warn the administration, but her urgent messages bounced off the firewall of bureaucratic arrogance. When the ceremonial music began, a sound like wind chimes having an existential crisis, Cato stopped being a polite guest. She shouldered her door open, the magnetic lock popping free under earthborne momentum, and scrambled through the maintenance shafts. Below, the Grand Plateau glittered. Administrator Quell stood at the center, arms spread in welcome, oblivious that he was standing on a landmine of material fatigue. Cato burst onto the scene just as the Karok's cargo sleds touched down. The vibration was a death knell. A Sethic poet dropped a commemorative sphere, and as it struck the floor, a spiderweb fracture raced across the crystal surface, like lightning in reverse. "Everyone off!" Cato roared, her voice cutting through the pomp. The floor gave way with the sound of a planet cracking. The plateau disintegrated, folding in on itself. Cato, fueled by adrenaline and drill memory, grabbed the freezing Administrator Quell and leaped. She caught a support cable, swinging in a wide arc. The cable screamed, stretching like taffy, but held, tensile strength being the one thing the Veline understood. Below them, the debris spiraled into the central shaft, a glittering funeral for aesthetic purity. Quell dangled, terrified, while Threx Gorham leaned over the shattered edge, pulling them to safety with the casual ease of a creature who treated gravity as a peer. The inquiry lasted 6 days. Cato became a curiosity, the heavy worlder who predicted the fall. Silthus found her before she departed, looking diminished. He admitted his blindness, offering a debt of instructional humility. He had built something beautiful and deadly because he refused to account for forces beyond his experience. As Cato boarded the human transport, a blocky, ugly vessel that smelled of recycled coffee and safety margins, she felt the floor hold firm without a groan. The Veline would rebuild their glass castles, chasing a perfection that ignored the weight of existence. But as Cato closed her eyes, letting the reliable hum of over-engineering lull her, she knew the truth we all eventually learn. You can ignore the laws of nature for a while, but eventually the floor drops out. Physics always gets the final vote.